Hello, good evening, everyone. Welcome to Studio for Happiness. Oshra here, and today we're gonna speak about really interesting topic. This is some roles. We're gonna cover some patterns, probably. And today is very exciting evening because today I'm not gonna be alone anymore. I am gonna invite my colleague Christina, and I think she's here already, so I can invite her straight away. And while she's coming, I'm gonna cover a little bit of what we're gonna speak today. Oh, hello, Christina.
Nice to see
Hi.
you.
Nice to see you online, and we are live actually. Actually, I'm
Yeah,
so happy that.
you look really amazing today.
Oh, thank you. You're really good. Look, as always, great as well. So yeah,
Thank
I
you.
was just starting. I was just mentioned that I'm so happy that finally I'm not alone. I have actually a colleague with me. So I think I hopefully for our followers this will be more interesting. This kind of light discussion. So maybe it's not so monotonic when one person speaking. So I'm really happy. Thank you very much for joining me today.
It's a pleasure being here.
Yes. So yeah, so I'm just gonna while we wait, maybe some people, I'm just gonna cover what we're gonna speak today. So today, as I said, it's very, very for me exciting opportunity to cover this because this is one of my at least used to be, maybe now it's better positions. So people, we're always looking obviously for happiness, and we're always looking for the answers or maybe best ways. And sometimes we just copy from surroundings, maybe how our parents used to behave, and we adopt certain patterns. And there are three popular patterns that we have interesting names. First pattern, we call it controller, and the second is benefactor, and the third one is the person who likes just very enjoying everything. But obviously, this is very, very wide topic, and today we're gonna cover the controller. It's kind of one of the main positions as well, this controller. And just before to start, Christina, do you think is it controller is a good or bad thing?
Well, I don't think it's a good or a bad thing. I don't think that's actually the right way to look at it.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's a tool. I mean, every quality that we have, every tendency that we have, it's like a tool to achieve something, to achieve more happiness. Like most, and that's what people use this tendency because they think it will make them happier in the end. So,
Yes.
I mean, yeah, good or bad is just like a pretty primitive way of thinking, I think. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So this is actually very important. I agree with you that really, when we're gonna speak about it, obviously we're gonna focus on more maybe because these are positive and negative sides, and the controllers actually they are really, really good at some things. Like for example, there are many famous actors or diplomatic or politics, the salespeople who can represent product, or many talented people have this control ability. So it's not like black and white, right? But today, I think what we're gonna do with Christina is try to show you, so you able maybe recognize controller maybe in yourself or maybe in other people. And that not necessarily means that you only have to be controller, but maybe you're gonna notice these qualities that, particularly if you feel like you lack of energy, if you feel like you always don't have time, you stressed. So I think for those type of people, maybe would be good to listen and to see maybe you have these qualities, and the most important, what to do if you have these qualities, right? I say these qualities in maybe minus area, right? So we're gonna focus on this more negative side, because I think if you have these positive qualities, you already know what to do with them. So I think just important was to cover that it's not necessarily a controller, it's just a bad thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, Christina, help me now, help me. Can you tell me, so how can how can I recognize that I am controller, for example, or how I recognize in other people? So maybe this is would be the first kind of step.
Yeah, I think like for me, the first step that when I recognize that I'm too much trying to control everything, even though I can't, and even though I understand that I can't control everything, I just think that yeah, that I can control, and it just it eats me up a little bit inside, because when you're in control, it's like the opposite of your inner child. Because imagine when you're a child, I think everyone remembers this, you can just draw something and not even think about it. I mean, you can just be in the present moment and enjoy what you're doing. It doesn't really matter what it will go to, what your future will look like, what like tomorrow will look like, and next week and next month and so forth. And so like the opposite of that, we see a little control freak, that people always talk about the negative side of this control freak. And I think the characteristics are more like what kind of results, what kind of feeling do you get as a result. And it's like, you feel this lack of creativity actually, and this lack of spontaneity. Like you can't be spontaneous, you just like focus on the results and not on the process itself. You can't really, life becomes less enjoyable. I mean, let's be honest, and you're not feeling it, you're like, I mean, it just, you don't pay attention to all the good stuff that's happening around you. And for example, if someone, like maybe a friend or someone you know, writes you a message, and it may be a very valuable message, but the only thing you can see are the spelling mistakes, I think, like, yeah, that would be a way to recognize.
Okay. So it's kind of, so it's kind of this type of person that first it has to be order, rules. It's kind of a serious parent, first it has to be room clean, and then maybe next, if my child is happy, like, oh, hungry, did you do your homework?
Yeah.
So it's kind of, so it's kind of,
yeah.
The person who really likes to stick to his guns and his plan, probably the person who likes planning.
Yeah, exactly. And the means, they become like secondary. For example, like you can really achieve a lot as a controller. You can get your results, but it may happen that the relationships with the people you worked with, they're just destroyed as a result. So, you know, and then, I mean, as a result, you will feel this void. Maybe you have achieved your result. Maybe you have got your profit or whatever that you were like, about to achieve. But
yes.
What have you actually achieved if the people around you are not happy? I mean,
yes. That's exactly my point. Speaking from the happiness perspective, if you achieved your result, but are you happy with that result?
Yeah, and that leads us actually to the motives that were not completely like right, or you know, it's. Yes. I mean, I'm wondering. Like those people who act that way, what were their motives from the beginning? Why did they want to achieve their goals? I think it's also important before you set a goal for a project or something to really ask yourself, why am I doing this? Because like people can think, okay, if I have more money, then I will be more happy. And they put all their effort and energy into like getting more money, and that's it. And all the rest may suffer. So yeah, I mean, happiness is like a multifaceted thing. You can be just like happy in one thing and all the rest like not care about and be perfectly happy. I mean, it doesn't work like that. Everything is
Yes,
a little.
definitely. Actually, now I just had an idea. Maybe we could ask our viewers what they think. How can you also recognize controller people? Or do you think you're controlling? Would be
Yeah,
also interesting to hear what they think. How can you, what could be traits of controller? How do you think? And does it even make, make sense what we're speaking?
hmm. And also, when you were talking, I was just thinking about something that came up. For example, yeah, well, parents, they think that something is like good for the child, but they don't really listen to the child's needs. For example, a child does something, or like he smokes, or he drinks, or he does something like even minor, and the parent is just focusing on that thing that the child is doing, and all the energy goes towards like prohibiting the child of doing this. But when the child talks and explains why, maybe there are some emotional issues, or I don't know what happens in the life of the child, but the parent doesn't listen, only focuses on the thing that's wrong. I mean, that can also be a controller a characteristic, you know.
Yeah, so controller doesn't like to listen. It's because it's difficult, I guess, for them to
Yeah,
to listen other people. And I
yeah,
guess
because
they are very sensitive. Yeah, I guess they're also very sensitive to if you criticize them.
yeah, definitely. Because I mean, when you're not listening to other people, it kind of means that other people are not too interesting to you. I mean, otherwise you would probably listen or like value what they would have to say, because they're also spending their time in telling you things. And I think, yeah, it's very important to honor that. And if you don't like, if other people are not interesting to you, um, then I mean, yeah, then obviously you're thinking that you know everything, and so you know
Exactly.
you're
So,
connected
mhm.
with the world and with the
And
people.
I guess, yes, and I
Mm-hmm.
guess one of the traits of controllers that they know what other people need, so they don't ask the opinions because they already know it. It's not necessarily, obviously, they do it for a bad purpose, but they
Mm-hmm.
generally think they know what other people need. And sometimes they have lots of jobs or lots of things in their hand because they think I need to help to this neighbor. I need to clean, I need to cook, I need to go to work, I need to do perfect something, be stable at work. Nobody asks you to do perfect, but they think they need to do perfect. And
Mm-hmm.
and this is why they always feel this lack of energy or overwork because they have to make sure they've done everything.
Yeah, that's so true. And what else do
Yes.
you think maybe the reason why people are like overly controlling, why that characteristic is predominant in their lives? What do you think maybe where does it come from? Do you have any ideas?
Yes, that's a good question, actually. Yes, I think that they are reason mostly it comes from the childhood, and when the child growing up, it's from 2 to 4 years old. Normally, it happens when the child gets some sort of like a disappointment or more like its best word, I would say betrayal, but it's quite sound this word when I say it. But actually, for the if you think when you were a child, every little thing for you it's a very big thing, right? So
Yeah.
particularly for the and if you think what is the mission of the child? The child is the most important that your parents are happy.
Mm-hmm.
So particularly in nowadays when the parents divorce, so what child thinks? They thinks, okay, so they left me because they betrayed me, or I am not good enough, so that's why they left me. and it's very big stress basically for child. Also with the families that maybe nobody left them, but for example, with the parents who unstable emotionally or maybe alcoholic, sometimes they have a party and obviously the child is neglected, or next day they or they promise something and they do not deliver, so they also feel betrayed. Or maybe, for example, the girl also was passing by and she put nice dress and she wanted appreciation, but for example, father didn't say compliment and say, many different reasons, but mostly the one pattern that normally goes is this betrayal. And obviously it causes huge pain in you. So sometimes consciously, sometimes most likely subconsciously, people find a way to avoid this pain. And in order to avoid this pain, they say, okay, if I'm gonna control everything, if I'm gonna do everything perfect, then I'm never gonna be in situation where I have to suffer again. Nobody can betray me. So yes. So yeah, I think this is the one of the kind of main ideas why people control, because they are really trying to avoid pain.
Yeah, to avoid something bad or something that they find bad happen to them. Because like when this bad thing happened, they remember the powerlessness that they felt when it happened and they couldn't change it. So in order to prevent themselves from falling into the situation where they can't change anything, they start like, having this tendency to control things, and like that just keeps on growing. Like you control more and more and more things. And yeah, it can really put you in a whole other spectrum, like the helplessness avoider, something like that.
Yes.
It's an interesting one.
Yes. So yes, and from there, obviously, there is lots of patterns what we develop as if you are controller. So what else? And controllers, they really kind of defending this territory so badly, and there's many reasons. What do you think? What is maybe any other patterns? How can we recognize these controllers?
This controversy, you mean which controversy exactly? Or
no, I said maybe any other ideas like that we can recognize these controllers.
Well, I think it's just like important to observe yourself, to learn to be aware, because like at the end of the day, you don't want to you're not a controller or a non-controller. Like there's no such thing. You're just like we're just using these terms in order to make it the communication about this easier. But obviously, I think if you're just aware that you have this tendency to control or then maybe the important question is, what am I trying to avoid, and which pain am I trying to like cover up or avoiding from happening? Because I mean, at the end of the day, if you're faced with something that you can't like do anything against, I think it's important to maybe rather learn how to deal with those things if they happen, and to accept that at the end of the day something might happen. Maybe you went through 7,000 scenarios in your head, but another one happened. And I mean, you just maturity is, in my opinion, that you can deal with that, with whatever comes. And so maybe just focusing more on that, on how to accept like everything that comes to you in its like how it is, and not trying to change or avoid the things from coming, because like the universe is so big, you can't avoid like something coming
Yeah.
up. So I think
So
it's
you're
more
already
important.
giving.
Yeah, I'm already maybe jumping a little bit forward here, but
Yes.
yeah, that's.
That is actually a good point. This is kind of you already giving answer, but also description. So like it's really important to understand that we are not center of universe and we cannot control everything. And I guess probably the good way of asking yourself, like, okay, so do I think that I can control everything? Or do I leave any space like for maybe also to see what's gonna happen today? Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, I think it kind of demands a little bit of curiosity also, because like when you know what's gonna happen, like you stop being curious because you just know. I mean, imagine if you had a date with someone, or maybe with your husband or boyfriend, and you know that he will be there with 100 roses at that hour, with that car, and we will go to that restaurant. I mean, would it still be fun? I mean, that's the question, because
Yeah.
yeah, then what is
Yeah.
the spontaneity, and what is the fun? What's really giving you like life enjoyment? So I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, for me,
That's actually a good one. I think someone gave one example that how to recognize controller. If you love, like for example, when someone gives you 9 roses and somebody brings you, let's say, 7 roses, and you're gonna count how many roses. So, and if the quantity of roses is more important than to receive roses, so maybe it's a kind of alarm bell that you have this controller, and you can look, as I say. Also, diagnosis, I also wanted to kind of remind, particularly for those who joined, that diagnosis, it's a not bad thing. It's a kind of your part of to healing, because once you can recognize some sort of maybe a little bit negative points or traits in your kind of character, how you behave, that means that you are halfway through the healing and you can improve these traits and these qualities, and obviously improve your quality of life. You can be more happier. So
yeah.
so
You know that.
so yes, yeah.
Yeah, that's, another thing that's like in the last couple of days, I'm just thinking about this thing that of acceptance, this idea that in order to change something, you first need to accept and acknowledge that it is there. Because I mean, when you recognize a controller inside of you and you just think, oh, and now I'm a controller, it's bad, I want to get rid of this. I mean, then you're actually, you're still being a controller because you like set like, this is you and this is the controller and this is bad and you need to get rid of this. So you start like being like this.
Controlling, being controller. Yeah.
Yeah. So how do you think can you find this balance between like not to stop actually being a controller, but at the same time to accept that you're a controller and it's okay to be a controller? I mean, because if it's not okay, then you're fighting against it, and that is more control. You see what I'm saying? So
yes. I think this is we slowly passing to the next topic. That is actually, if you are controller, what to do? What can we do? And we mentioned that one thing is really it's good to be connection with yourself. But the second, what you mentioned, how can we? I think you bring a really good point about acceptance. And for me, this is about this student position, as they call it, because the student. We are curious, we're learning, and we don't know everything. Where the controller, he already knows everything. He knows the end result. I'm gonna receive 7 pink roses or 9. I'm not gonna receive 7 roses. And I'm gonna go in this restaurant and my table it's gonna be ready 7:30, not 7:35. and I'm gonna be greeted by this person. But sometimes, you know, like it's like, for example, if you are in a student position, imagine that you are driving somewhere and you stuck in a traffic jam, and you got half an hour later. But what happens that we don't know what would happen if I actually got there in time. Maybe I would be in a car crash accident, for example. Maybe I would not even go to the destiny. So we don't really know many things around, but we judge that we know. And this is student position.
And we determine that something is bad for us, even though like it may be just like the universe saved us from something like from death. For example, oh my God, I just remembered a situation that my friend actually told me. She was like driving somewhere, and all of a sudden the car broke down, and she was in the middle of nowhere. She didn't know what to do, and for like 2 hours she was like in total, okay, like now what situation. And apparently when she finally continued on, all of a sudden the car just worked perfectly again. And like there was no really logical explanation for all that happened. But anyway, she managed to carry on. And then she saw, when she was driving by, that in that location there was a huge accident. Like really that location that she was supposed to be 2 hours ago. So due to this like stupid, I mean, car breaking down thing that she had, she was actually, she could be in the accident, like imagine that. But of course, those 2 hours that you're just wasting time, it seems like, oh my God, what's happening? This is bad. I mean, just what do I need to do? This is so not calculated into my daily routine and plan. I mean, you can get so worked up about all those things and not realizing that all of this was actually part of a plan. That I mean, you can be thankful that that you're alive.
Yes, it's a very good example, amazing example. Actually, now I just had another idea, and this happens not only like with this type of it, but for example, think how many people are in not happy relationship, but they hold on of this idea that this is my person, and it doesn't matter how you are treated. They still stick to toxic or very unhealthy relationships because of this idea that I am in control, because I have this idea that I have to be with somebody, or etc., etc. But if you just let it go, let the universe speak, maybe you already, let's say, worked out your karma, maybe someone else for you, but you just not giving up. Doesn't matter what happens. So we actually being in this control position, it looks like we're losing out of new opportunities, so like something better, because we think we know better. So yes, so speaking of this student position, it allows you like see wider position, and once you have wider position, there are choices, coming choices in your life. Because if you accept, okay, this is the situation, I accept that, and then you have position, or the thing like if somebody fired you from the job, you can obviously fight this your boss and lose energy, or you can think, okay, so what universe is trying to tell me?
Yeah, what's next?
If I was good worker, so maybe there's another opportunities ready for me. Actually, so yes, this student position, I think it's a really, really good one.
It's really interesting that you mentioned that, because I find myself often like in this situation, only that like in my case, I often like the work that I'm doing, I think like I could find a more interesting job or something like more like around the things that I'm passionate about. So I tend to think like, but okay, this job, I know it already. I know the people, it's fine. So I always find myself in that situation. But then I think like I always tend to rethink. So okay, but what are the other motives? Like, except this perceived stability that I have, what is like another positive thing? And then I find actually a bunch of other positive things that make me calm inside, and I think, okay, that's actually a good reason that I'm doing this right now, and it's just a good moment to do this right now, because now I can focus on my hobbies and things that are really important to me, like the psychology, education, and everything. So I mean, that job actually helps me to do a lot of things right now, and it may be not a job that I will be doing for 20 years, but right now it's a good time. But yeah, I always tend to rethink and like connect with my values to just like, I mean, explain to myself why I'm in a certain situation without like being in a victim role. Like, why is this so bad? Why is this so boring? And stuff like that. Because I mean, I don't want to live like this. I don't want to be a victim to life. I don't want to be a creator, obviously. And yeah.
Yes, that's the good one. This is another benefit why to look up and give up of this controller position, because it gives you opportunity to be creator of your life, and it gives you choices. It gives you this resourcefulness. Yes, and yes, and another thing what I just would like to mention is that the controllers normally know very well what other people need, and often they do things that, like for example, perfectionism, right? So maybe what I learned in my life, because I used to be really like a perfectionist, and I never satisfied whatever report I've done or everything. But then I came up with this rule: if it's 80%, it's good for me. I just go and show other people, and if they say it's okay, then it means it's okay. And this is, you can actually heal yourself from this perfectionism, because it's really stressful. You spend lots of time on something, and nobody actually needs perfect. People just need the job is being done and on time, not like waiting for years something is perfect, because maybe it's perfect a year ago, but not now.
Yeah.
So like you need birthday present on your birthday, not after 1 year. Like, so. So yes, so that's also, I think it's a good point. And,
because like we often think like things should be done in a certain way, and we assume it from our own conception of the world without even talking to other people what they want. I mean, yeah, so it can be really tricky. So yeah, it's easy to find.
And this is another point, that student is asking question, right? So imagine university, all students comes and nobody asks questions. So what can they learn? You learn about the situation, then you ask questions. So this is like, okay, I've done this report. I'm gonna ask my colleague, I'm gonna ask my boss, look, what do you think about this? Is it already good enough? Would you like me to add something else to be more relevant, maybe, and just to check? And this is where, I say, the people are social kind of animal, if you like. It's not very good description, but anyway, we cannot live alone. We have to learn, say, cooperate with other people. So that's why, again, the student position is teaching you to cooperate with people. And the more you in a contact with the other people, so then it's kind of like universe helping you. So this is, I guess, another thing. Do I ask questions when I'm doing something?
Very important one. Because I mean, people are so sometimes more in dialogue with themselves than with other people. And so this inner dialogue can even like give someone the idea that that is the way it is done and that's how it should be, but without actually knowing anything. And I think it really helps during education when we are going to school. Communication is not something that's really like stressed upon, how to communicate with others. It's more like, okay, you need to learn this book, this material, and then you reproduce it, or like this. I don't want to say that there are no discussions in school, but I think the main focus is still like listening to respond instead of listening to understand. And I think that's that's something that's totally shifting right now, because we understand that listening to understand is much more important and much more valuable, because if you're just listening to respond, to be able to respond, you're just focusing on, well, your own image in front of someone else, in front of the world, instead of learning from the world. So yeah,
that is actually an interesting topic you cover about schools and about actually generally kids. That when you mention inner child and generally kids, if you think about kids, like why you don't need to force kids to play, right? They just naturally want to play, but they are not naturally want to study. And you think, okay, why is that? It's because, and actually the reason, because every person has a wish or desire to learn and grow. It also has, you need to, every person, for example, if I tell you, Christina, go to eat this ice cream. Even if you love this ice cream, but because I told you so, you would feel, why are you deciding that I need to eat now? It's like,
about it myself 2 seconds ago, but then you say it, it's like with my mom, it's like completely the same thing. For example,
I don't want to.
Yeah, I'm thinking like, I want to eat an apple right now. And my mom is like saying, eat an apple, but like really in an ordering way, you know? Then I don't want this apple anymore. What do you think?
Exactly. And that's a big one. So like every person likes to have the sense of freedom. Like if I say to you, Christina, I have this lovely ice cream. Would you like to share one? And then you can say yes or no, but at least you are given possibility to choose. And normally in the schools, children are not given much choices, do they? Like and
it's more like from the top down.
Actually, this is and this is actually I really want to do maybe one live I'm gonna make about gadgets and why people on the phones. But quickly, this is one of the actually reasons that in a game, children actually they can how to say, they can get they get some difficulties to overcome and they get some prizes for them, but they also have choice and they also have freedom.
Exactly.
So normally, for example, when you're dealing with controllers, they're not really giving you much choice because they already know what to do and how to do. So it's like when you're speaking with controllers, ask maybe for options or ask for reasons why it's so important for them. Because I guess we not only ourselves can be controllers, but other people can be controllers as well. So this is also a good one.
About the game, I like that you mentioned about games, because I just thought about the game Monopoly. Why do people enjoy it playing so much? Because I mean, you have like this a kind of that you're uncontrolling of. You don't control the number that you throw on the dice, but it's but then when for example you just throw 6 or whatever random number, and then you go to a certain place, but then you have the freedom to choose, do you buy it or not? So that's like the thing, that there's always the freedom of choice. And even the fact that you're the one who is throwing the dice, not someone else is doing it for you, you're doing it with your own hands. like you still have the choice. I mean, you don't like go in this victim mentality. Oh, I threw this. No, because I mean, everyone has the same rights and the same, yeah, the rules are for everyone. And like I think, yeah, it's a really nice example. I just like that just popped into my mind why do people enjoy games so much in general? Because like you say, there is this freedom that they have, like in every step of the game. Actually.
Yes, and I think one of the important things to mention that I think one of the motivation, another motivation for controllers not to give choice, because they fear that if you give freedom to people, then everything gonna collapse. So they don't really trust. But there's another point to understand that, particularly when we're speaking with the kids. Giving a freedom, it's not necessarily means you give total freedom. What you actually have to give, it's depending obviously of the person and the position and the situation. But if, for example, if you're dealing with kids or like maybe your employees, if you give this feeling of freedom, so then they're very happy to follow the ground rules, because they know that, okay, the rule is this, and this, but you give them to choose. Okay, would you like to do this first or this first? And they're gonna be happy that, okay, somebody actually asked my opinion.
Yeah, exactly.
They care about me, and they give me to choose. Like, and this is already very, very gratifying. And once you satisfy this need of freedom, feeling of freedom, you then very happy to follow the rules. So this is just wanted to add on that to give freedom, it doesn't mean that you have to give 100% freedom. You're not giving 5-year-old a credit card and say buy whatever you want.
Yeah, exactly. Or you don't say like to a 5-year-old, go to the kitchen and prepare whatever you want with the knives. Here's the equipment, the stove, and everything. So
yes. So this is and not understanding this very, very fine kind of line, it's gives them this desperate wish of controlling everything. Yes. So it's because simply people don't know how to do other way, because we looked how our parents doing, or maybe other colleagues doing, and then we developed this kind of way of doing it. And sometimes people, okay, but if I'm not gonna control, so what's gonna be from my life? Like, it's gonna be disaster. But actually, no. Life is not designed to be disaster.
Yeah, exactly. And even without knowing, people are just following these scenarios from the childhood that they saw their parents doing. And very often, even when you like set yourself at a certain point in time, I'm never going to do like my parents. I'm never going to repeat the same mistakes. I'm just going to be the completely opposite of that. And then you find yourselves in adulthood just repeating your parents' patterns. And it can be very painful to even acknowledge yourself and like become aware of that, because like you told yourself to never be like your parents, and then all of a sudden you're doing actually the same things. But yeah, it's very tricky.
So so I think it's a really good idea to recognize these patterns if you have some, and maybe we could ask our followers who are online today, can you give us some pluses or hearts? Did you recognize any controllers today? It would be interesting really to see it. Any controllers with us? And you, Christina, maybe you can share some success story. Did you have like any, let's say, any trait of controller, and now you're not doing it, something, or?
Well, actually, I'm
how
still.
How did you overcome that?
Well, I wish I would have overcome it, because actually every day I'm like how do you say, I'm seeing these tendencies in myself every single day. I mean, it's not like you do like this and you overcome it for the rest of your life. You know, it's every day working on yourself. And like on the one hand, it can be frustrating because, I mean, I'm just the kind of person who just wants to work one time and then get all of the fruits of my work for the rest of my life.
Oh yeah. Magic pill. Give me magic pill.
Because you always have a choice. I mean, even if every day you don't have to struggle with this all the time. I mean, you can just say, okay, I have this and it's okay. Like, even if it's every single day that you're seeing some controller tendencies in yourself, it's not like the end of the world. I mean, you can still make other choices. And that is the empowering part of all of that, I think. Yeah, so it's I wish I could say that, okay, I've overcome this, but it's actually a process, and this is also for me a big lesson, not to focus on purely the results, which is get rid of the controller mindset and just live happily ever after. But yeah.
So what did yourself, you said you're working on yourself, so what do you actually do when you notice that you are controlling?
Yeah. First step is noticing it, and then I actually ask myself, what do I really want? And then I like try to connect with my core values and what is really important for me, not like this superficial stuff that sometimes I think it's important, but not the real values. And then I start thinking, okay, which steps I can take. For example, I can give something to my inner child that it wants. I can give it some attention. I can maybe draw something, seek this creativity and this openness to the world. And I mean, that's really different for everyone. I don't want to give something like you should do that or you should do that, because
yes,
in doing that, the controller, you know. So I think it's important for everyone to just think, okay, I mean, more to just feel actually what they, their, what's the word? What their needs are, and which needs maybe are not being met right now, and like what resources do they lack, like in reality, to meet those needs. Because we may think we don't have enough time of money, but in reality it's like, yeah, it's not that's often the problem. It's just that we don't permit ourselves to do certain things. We don't permit ourselves to just go to the store and buy a bunch of flowers just because they're beautiful, and not like because we often think, oh, that's a waste of money, that's a waste of time, like doing this will waste my time. But at the end of the day, you're not enjoying life. And I think well, that's the important thing is to enjoy life where you're doing all that stuff that's important to you. Yeah.
Yes. So I think you mentioned really a good formula, like it's really asking yourself, okay, so what do you really want? What is really makes me happy? Maybe I'm just not allowing myself, like, for example, if I like flowers, why I cannot go and buy flowers? Because I know that flowers lift my mood, my apartment looks beautiful, and I don't need to wait somebody really buy me flowers, right? So it's like really to ask yourself, is this the only way to achieve what I want?
Yeah.
This is by manipulating other people, or really like sticking to your guns, because you know situation may change already, and you have to embrace the reality, new reality, and you think, okay, what other options? What I'm trying to achieve here? What other options I have? Maybe I'm not knocking correct door. Maybe there is an easier door without stress
And it can be really so versatile. For example, a few days ago, I just felt like putting gluing some fake nails on my fingers, and I was like, oh, that looks really nice. But a while ago, I would have said, oh, this is so stupid. I don't actually care about this. This is not important to me. But then I just went with it, and it looked really nice, and I just enjoyed my nails for a couple of days, and I thought, oh, that's really nice. And like, I want to keep doing these experiments, like with a lot of different stuff, and stuff that I didn't necessarily plan to do in my day or whatever, but I just look at something. Oh, I think that has a nice color. Oh, I think that's a nice shape. Oh, that's something interesting. I don't think I know it yet. And like if you keep this curious all the time, I think it can make life a lot richer in general. So
Yes.
yeah.
This is so this is kind of bringing me the thought that it's about controllers maybe need to find time to relax and to make a priority, because what often happens with controllers, they don't have time, right? Why would I bother to put these nails if I have so much to do? Like, but if you make your agenda that but if you're such a controller, try to control your agenda that way that you always have time to relax and just to do something you simply like. Because if you are more, let's say, if you're doing more things that you like, you enjoy, you allow yourself to relax, then obviously you have less tension and less need to control everything. Because when you're doing something you like, you just have to be in that moment.
You're just in the flow. I mean, whatever may happen around you, you're not gonna be like, oh, that's such a drama, because you have this like inner, I don't know, there's this inner strength that comes with it, and inner stability as you go. Because people are often trying to find stability outside, and it's in the end it's just inside of us, and it's something that we just can we can control it. Actually, I mean, I don't want to say we can control it, but we can acknowledge it, and we can develop it, and that's I think that's a much efficient way to to achieve the things that controllers are really trying to achieve.
Yes. Oh, that's great. And I look at it, how our time kind of slowly going in the end. So maybe we can just the one thing also that I want to kind of to cover, because what to do if I'm not controller, but other people are controllers? What our tricks do you think could be, like, if other people control us? Because one thing I was thinking is, one thing I was thinking it's probably also important to recognize as well. And if you recognize that this is person controller, then probably this person needs some assurance, or needs some comfort, or something very important for this person. So maybe, to
you said there's
show
also
them some.
Yeah,
to maybe,
as you
to
said,
make a
control.
say it.
So what do they need actually? Like you're saying, what are the needs that are not being met? Because there's always a reason why they do certain things.
Yes. So I guess it's a nice thing to do, just to ask them what their expectations, what is your deadlines, and just to show that you are not enemy and you are on their side. At the same time, I think it's important to draw some sort of boundaries as well, like so you're not participating in control again. So you still have to think that, because controllers sometimes can be very aggressive, and you have to remember that actually you have freedom. You can say yes, you can say no, you can say maybe. So allow yourself to ask questions, why it is important to do that particular way, and do I really have to work overnight just to meet your need, or maybe I can have a discussion and to come to different conclusions.
I think that can be quite a challenge, because often controlling people, they're not really, like, you can't just sit to there and talk to them like with a normal person. I mean, they're always in a rush or something. For example, take my boss right from work. Like, he's always in a rush. I don't feel easy to ask him these questions, you know what I'm saying? So I'm just like, okay, what needs to be done? And then I just like, well, he's telling so much stuff at the same time. I'm trying to follow and to write things down. So do you have maybe some suggestions on how to like how to talk about these boundaries if you feel like the person may not be open to this conversation because he has another.
Yes, and yes, I think that's a really good question, and I think what you mentioned, that very often we have scenarios in our head, like, and we get in the game of this manipulation because we think, oh, I have to sit now until 10 o'clock because all scenario in my head, this is
I'm gonna
not
get
true.
fired.
Yeah, because I'm gonna get fired, because you're gonna be angry, because I'm gonna be loser.
Exactly.
But actually, if you think, okay, what does says my contract? Does it say that I have to work 24/7, or it says that I work 9 to 5? And if you don't stick to the rules, so why somebody else have to stick to your rules? It's just, I think this is, again, you have to have this connection and trust that there is a reason why I'm at this job. And I did not sign up. It's another example what I like to give to people. If you go to a grocery store and you know that tomatoes cost £2, you don't go to the till and give £5, do you?
Yeah, exactly. Oh, that's a good one.
So we know that tomatoes cost £2.
Yeah.
So why we overwork?
Because he knows that it is this price. So here is like two-way. Yeah.
Yes. So like we feel scared or something. So like for example, if your boss doesn't want to listen something that is important about his business, all you can do is to make your best attempt, but you're not responsible for that business. Your job is to do your duty. As there is a very good famous saying, better to do okay your job than to do perfect someone else.
It's
so
true.
you need to bring yourself that, okay, I am hired to do this job. Because I'm nice and self-aware, I can give alert or advice for other people, which is not my job. But at the end of the day, I am not controlling. I'm not the boss of this company. I'm not controller. I'm not the center of the universe. I trust the people that they will do what is the best for them with this information. So you cut these boundaries of your responsibilities, because often what happens that people forget where these boundaries are, where my responsibilities ending.
Yeah,
You
so
may
true.
be very qualified and overqualified for a position, but nobody really asked you to do. Nobody asked you to pay £5 or euros for tomatoes, which cost you. So, and this is where we're getting these confusions, or people have different expectations, and we drowned it. And often there's another example, like for example, people afraid to talk with another person, to say something like, I feel that this way, and I'm not gonna tell this person. I better be quiet, because if I say the relationship gonna be over, they're gonna exclude me from friends, not gonna invite to the party. I'm gonna have horrible, miserable life. I'm not gonna have any friends. Like, and I'm gonna be a loser because I have no friends, no relationship, nobody loves me, nobody cares about me. And all this drama, just because I cannot tell about what I feel, or I cannot draw these dramas. Okay, this is where it's okay for me. This is where it's not okay for me. So yes, so I think yes, it's again the best advice for this work. So just to remember the basic rules. What is our agreement? And you just stick to your values, because like if someone tells you, okay, you take this job, but you have to work 24/7, and you think, okay, so is the salary 5 times bigger or what, or you just still the same salary? So I was like, no, thank you very much, I don't want this job. So if you initially didn't agree to these conditions, why are you doing it now?
Exactly, exactly. And that's, I mean, we so often see people who actually just have like a normal job without like too many responsibilities. They're just, the responsibilities put on them, but actually they didn't sign up for it. And they're just doing everything they can because they think they have no choice. We see that even people, well, okay, now with Corona it's a bit less, but before, when people even were sick, even with having the flu, people still came to work. I mean, can you imagine? Like, it's people are afraid to be sick just because they're afraid to be fired, that the boss won't like that they are sick and no one else can do their job, or because they want to defend the colleagues, because otherwise the colleagues will have to do their job as well. Yeah, it's the boundaries. It's such an important topic. If you're doing a live on boundaries, I think it would be a really good one. I would like to.
I think, yeah, just this ideas coming for life. So already have two good ideas. But I need to speak about gadgets, and we can speak about boundaries as well. And
Exactly.
yes, we really, really do many things, not because there is any grounds for it, but because our imagination goes so far away. We think that we can control everything, and
yeah, and we think that what we think that it is right, it will happen this way. For example, I can think that, okay, if my boss comes today, he will be angry. But I mean, do I know it for sure? No, of course not.
That? Yeah.
So you know, yeah.
So yes, I think we already have to wrap up. So yes, Christina, thank you very much. It was so nice, so quick with this conversation, and everyone who watched this, put some likes, tell us what you think. Do you prefer in this dialogue form? I'm sure that would be okay.
Thanks, Sasha, for hosting this. It was really interesting. And I think I just keep learning every day, I swear.
Yes, thank you very much, Christina, for participating. And I'm just gonna quickly to make this last word. So really, controller position, it's not necessarily bad or good, and there's no shortcut to answer control or relax is better. I think it's the better. It's really to have balance between two, and to have options, to embrace the student position, to embrace be aware, communicate with the people, and generally happiness is not always by achieving some physical material goals, but to be happy on the way already. So find this balance, relax, ask questions if you're not clear. You don't need to be perfect all the time, and be in a connection with yourself. Because if you are in that process where you're already not feeling happiness, then most likely you're already off the track. And you can always ask some simple questions. Okay, why I'm doing it? If somebody asked me to do, if I achieve this, what it's gonna be then? And you know, if you have too much on your plate, maybe go and ask your colleague or boss or wife or husband, and seek for help. Basically, maybe you can rearrange your agenda the way that it's possible to do everything, and feel, because at the end of the day, if you are happy, then around people more likely gonna be happy, so you would contribute much more with your happiness and with your energy, would rather just perfectly complete a task. So this is from me. I guess. Anything to add?
I don't even know what to add because I think it was such a nice summary of everything that we basically covered. Yeah, I think it's great. Thanks.
Good. Great. Okay, thank you, Christina. And thank you everyone who watched or who gonna watch recording. And talk to you soon.
See you soon.
Bye.